Good evening, and welcome to the November 17th Lawrence Metropolitan Douglas County Planning Commission meeting. I will now turn it over to Luke to go over the rules for this evening's meeting.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. Please silence your cell phones to minimize distractions during the meeting. When the Chair calls for public comment, please approach the podium to indicate your wish to speak. Virtual participants should use the raise hand function to indicate they wish to speak during public comment. Once your name is called, please unmute and turn on your camera to provide your comments. Please state your name before speaking. The city reserves the right to turn video participants off or mute participants. All comments will be limited to 3 minutes. The primary format to access and participate in this meeting is in person at City Hall. Virtual access to view or participate in the meeting cannot be guaranteed. The chat function will not be monitored. If you have any trouble, the meeting can be viewed on the city's YouTube channel and cable channel 25.
Thank you. At this time, I will ask that we receive the meeting minutes from the October 22nd, 2025 meeting. That was the only meeting that we had last month, so we only have one set of meeting minutes to approve. Any discussion or motions on the meeting minutes from October?
I'll move approval of the minutes.
Is there a second? Yes. Any discussion? All right, all in favor of approval of the minutes? Any opposed? Were you able to get everyone online, Jeff?
Oh, Commissioner Munch.
Steve Munch.
Can't hear him.
Yes, and Commissioner Barotto.
Ah,
Hey, Kurt, we might
Can-
have a volume. Yeah, it seems a little quiet. Hey, Pedro, can you hear me?
I can barely hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Commissioners.
We can hear you now.
There you go. Yeah, I said I'll abstain on that vote.
Great.
Commissioner Munch, can you say something?
Yeah, I said the same. I'm abstaining from approval.
Great, thank you. Motion passes. At this time, we will receive reports from any of the committees that have met over the past month. It's my understanding the Lawrence Douglas County Metropolitan Planning Organization Policy Board did not meet this month. Is that correct?
We will meet Thursday. Next Thursday, we will meet.
What is the time and the location for the public if they?
3 o'clock. Oh, and I believe it is at the library, in the downstairs at the library.
conference room A.
A.
Wonderful. So if you're interested in that.
I'll be there.
Yep. You can find more information about that on the website as well if you need to find the location for that meeting. And the North Lawrence Comprehensive Corridor Study Task Force. Commissioner Eldridge, did you want to report on that? And I can add to it.
Well, we have had 2 meetings so far, and the first meeting was on November, can't remember the date, last week. And that was a meeting where we talked about the kinds of things we as task force members valued about North Lawrence. And there are 12 members of the task force. We met again tonight, and tonight was an open meeting for the whole community. And again, all the participants, and I don't know how many people were there, well over 100. And we were asked to look at maps of the area corridor and to indicate what we thought was important about North Lawrence and what we wanted to be connected to in North Lawrence. If you lived someplace and wanted to go someplace else, what was the connection you needed? What did you like? What kinds of opportunities did you see for the future? What kinds of things did you want to preserve? And the consultants have done a very good job of collecting the information so far and putting it on very attractive boards that we could see. And on December 10th, which is the next open meeting, we'll learn about what they have collectively heard from all of us so far.
And in the public comment on the agenda, I've posted the meetings that we know of so far and a link to the website where you can find more information about the corridor study for anybody who's interested. So next one.
Where was the meeting?
It was at Woodlawn School
Oh, okay.
Yes.
tonight,
Yes,
and on December 10th, it'll be at the depot in North Lawrence.
okay.
But they said they had such a wonderful crowd turnout tonight that they may have to move the December 10th, depending on the expectation of how many people will show up. So if you are going to go, just double check the location closer to time.
Hey, Chair, does the riverfront, is that included in this study?
It is.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. The study includes the riverfront, goes across to North Lawrence, and then goes out to the airport, and then includes part of Grant Township. So people that live in those areas may be interested.
Thank you.
Yes, and all of Lawrence may be interested in Douglas County.
And just a reminder for the commission, if you would like to attend, please let us know. In case there's a quorum of you, we will need to advertise and follow proper protocols for that. So if you have an interest in going, please reach out to us and let us know, and we'll make that arrangement.
Wonderful. Thank you. We'll now move on to communications. We will receive written communications from the public.
All written communications received by the deadline were included as part of your packet.
Right, and we'll receive written communication from staff, planning commissioners, or other commissioners.
None this evening.
Written action of any waiver or requests or determinations made by the city engineer.
Also none this evening.
And at this time, I'll ask the commission, is there any disclosure of ex parte communications this evening? All right, seeing none. Are there any declarations of abstention from specific agenda items by any commissioners this evening? Looks like none. All right. So at this point, we will move into general public comment, and this is where we take comments from the public that are not related to an item on tonight's agenda. So if you're here to speak to a specific item, you can wait for that item, and we will have public comment at that time. But is there anyone here or online that would like to give general public comment tonight? Luke, anyone online?
Nope, nobody online.
Okay, great. So then at this time, we'll move into our regular agenda. And our first item is to consider a request to rescind a minimum maintenance road in the Palmyra Township. And Ellie will be the planner on this evening.
Okay, I think that's low enough. Good evening, Commissioners. Ellie Mullins, planner. Tonight's first item is a request from the county to rescind a minimum maintenance declaration for a small portion of North 1 Road at the South County line. We don't see these very often, so I'll provide a little bit of background. So a minimum maintenance road is a public road that receives little to no routine maintenance. To be a minimum maintenance road, Kansas law requires that the road be officially designated as such by the Board of County Commissioners. Generally, roads designated as minimum maintenance have very low traffic volumes, and the local township with maintenance jurisdiction has determined that other roads with higher traffic volumes deserve more attention and resources. So most minimum maintenance items we see are to establish that designation. However, tonight we are looking to rescind that designation. Kansas law indicates that the same process be used to rescind that status as establish it. This process requires first the Board of County Commissioners to initiate the request, then for the township and the Planning Commission to provide their recommendation. The request then ultimately returns to the Board of County Commissioners for their approval. The request has already been initiated by the Board of County Commissioners, and the township has provided their recommendation. Your task tonight is to provide a recommendation to forward on to the board. The subject portion of North 1 Road dead ends just over a quarter mile west of East 1700 Road. In 1991, this section of North 1 Road was designated minimum maintenance due to low traffic volume and its primary use as agricultural access. However, in 1998, a building permit was issued in air to construct residence off this road. Residences shall only be built on minimum maintenance road when there is an additional access to a full maintenance road, which in this case there is not. As such, it is now the desire of the property owner and the county to remedy this situation, as all residences should be on full maintenance roads for safety purposes. Both county staff and the township are supportive of the request to rescind the minimum maintenance designation and reestablish the road as a full maintenance road. This portion would ultimately be maintained by Franklin County, as it's on the edge. Considering that this section of North One Road is the sole access point to a residence and there are no problems with the road that would impede maintenance, staff recommends that the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the Board of County Commissioners to rescind the minimum maintenance road designation for the subject portion of North One Road. One communication was added to your packet today from an adjacent property owner. They were inquiring about extending North One Road to the west of the area that we're currently looking at tonight. The inquirer was advised that this would be a separate process with the private property owners in Douglas County Public Works to establish that right-of-way. And it is unrelated to the minimum maintenance request tonight. So I'm here to answer any questions. We also have Kevin Sontag, the Douglas County surveyor, to help with any other questions as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Ellie. At this time, we will take public comment. Is there anyone from the public who's here to speak on this item tonight? Luke, do you see? I don't see anyone online, do you?
Nobody online.
Just like to double check with you, my eyesight's not that great from up here. Okay, thank you. All right. So at this point, then I'll bring it back to the commission for any discussion on this item or questions that you may have for staff. Questions? None? Entertain a motion?
I would make a motion to approve rescinding the minimum maintenance designation and establishing a full maintenance road for a portion of North One Road in Palmyra Township, and forward a recommendation of approval to the Board of County Commissioners.
So a second?
2 seconds.
We have a second?
Yes.
Any further discussion? Fine. All right. All in favor of the motion? Any against? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes. So with that, we will move on to item number 2 for this evening, which is to consider approving a preliminary plat. And it looks like Catherine will be addressing us tonight. Thank you.
Let's see. Kurt, you got that presentation handy?
Yeah, these are all new computers that we're trying
Oh,
to figure out
I
which
think,
one is
I see it, yep.
Lasso, right?
Yep, Luso, yep,
Okay, sorry.
Do so.
yep.
Okay, you're driving.
Okay, good evening, Commissioners. Catherine Reek, one of the planners. I have before you this evening a request for preliminary plat. This is the Luso project. It is located at the northeast corner of Queens Road and Rockarusa Drive. This is just orienting you as to where the property is located. It's actually surrounded on all 4 sides by right-of-way. So that's kind of a unique context for this particular plat. It's currently unplatted and undeveloped, thus the reason why you're seeing a preliminary plat. It's the first step in a 2-step process to plat the property and prepare it for development. So 1 lot is being proposed with this preliminary plat. This is a development for a multi-dwelling residential project. It is 1 development on 1 lot. It already has existing right-of-way for the area. There's no additional right-of-way being dedicated with this particular plat. There are some perimeter utility easements that are in existence. There would be some additional utility easements that would need to be dedicated internally. That would be done at the time of the final plat and dedicated during that time. This is for a 10 building development for multi-dwelling. I believe there's 13-ish units in each building. The applicant can go into more detail if you have questions on that particular thing. So when we're looking at preliminary plats, these are the criteria that are outlined in the staff report that we go through to make sure that it complies with those criteria, whether or not it has direct access to a public road, if it conforms to the minimum lot size for the zoning district that it's in. This is in the R3 residential district, and that is a medium density district. Whether it conforms to the subdivision design standards, Plan 2040, if there's any sector plans or area plans. This one is not in a sector area plan, so that Plan 2040 is the guiding overarching plan for this particular area. Whether it conforms to those major thoroughfares, the map. This particular piece of property is already located, as I mentioned, surrounded by existing right-of-ways, so it does conform to all those connection points and that major thoroughfares map. Whether it conforms to adopted wastewater and water and drainage. Our MSO division reviews all of these preliminary plats to determine whether or not the proposal will conform to those elements. This one does. Whether it would interfere with any streets or connections between subdivisions. This one, again, is at an established intersection. The connection points for this particular proposal would be off Queens Road and Eisenhower Road. That's on the east and west sides. So it does conform to those subdivisions that are adjacent. And then whether it conforms to the standards for boundary surveys and platting. This one did meet all of those criteria points. So staff is recommending approval of the preliminary plat and forwarding that on to the City Commission with a recommendation of approval. And I am happy to stand for any questions or clarifications if you have them.
Thank you, Catherine.
Okay.
Is the applicant here this evening to speak on this? Or would the applicant like to address us? Thank you.
All right. Good evening, Commissioners. I am Dan McGee with Lamprey Nearson, here on behalf of MRES Acquisitions. I would just add that we, in addition, we had submitted a sanitary sewer analysis for downstream, a traffic impact study, and a stormwater management report. So we'll take care of with stormwater management would be provided on the project, 2 different locations. With the development of this property. We will be dedicating some easements within the plat. There's some existing infrastructure that's going along the right-of-way, so we'll provide for that, as well as the public extensions on utilities across the site. So it'll be a complete, kind of in the multi-step process that Catherine mentioned when we get to the final plat stage and the dedication of easements, and that will be a next step for the project.
Wonderful.
Okay. With that, I would be happy if there's any questions, answer those.
Okay, if we have any, we'll come back to you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Is there any member of the public here to give public comment on this item this evening? I don't see anyone online, Luke. Do you?
Oh, no, that's the podium camera. We're good.
Okay. Great. Well, with that, I'll bring it back to the commission for any discussion on this item. Okay. Commissioner Oliver?
I would move that we approve the preliminary plat 25-0021, Luso, located on the northeast corner of Wakarusa Drive and Queens Road, based on the findings in the body of the staff report.
A second on that?
Second.
Yeah. Any further discussion?
Can I just ask a quick question of the developer? What are these independent houses, or what? Can you give us a sense of what they're going to look like?
Sure. My name is Cassie Ennis. I'm president of Metonic, doing this development. And so these are going to be a townhome style multifamily unit. So there are 2-story townhome units as well as first and second story apartment units in these buildings. So we have 10 plexes, we have 12 plexes, and 14 plexes. They're all very luxury in nature with high-end finishes, a fully amenitized community, 24/7 professional management, landscaping, snow removal. That will all be handled by ownership.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, not from me. Thanks.
Any others? Any discussion? All right, no more discussion. Then I will call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion? All right, any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes. And with that, we will move on to item 3 this evening, which is to consider approving a text amendment to the new land development code. Luke?
So those were my people, but they didn't comment.
Really? More try.
All right, Kurt, I'm about to start.
Yeah, hit Zoom. You're on it, yeah, click there, right there. And then green button at the bottom.
Yeah, I always forget this part.
You're Mr. Teams now.
I know. All right, there we go. Okay, good evening, everybody. Luke Mortensen, Planner with Planning and Development Services. As Chair Hayden has noted, this final item is a text amendment request to reduce the required amount of gross floor area dedicated to non-residential land uses when multi-unit dwelling or interior or non-ground floor dwelling units are proposed in the mixed corridor district. So here is the specific land development code section that we're talking about today. Per section 20-406D2, dwelling units shall only be permitted in the M3 zoning district provided that the residential units are part of a mixed-use project application when at least 50% of the gross floor area, either vertical or horizontal, is developed with non-residential uses. So I highlighted the 50% because that'll be key for us today. Okay, so text amendment applications require the applicant to provide staff with the proposed revision. At the time of submittal, the applicant requested that the non-residential amount be reduced from 50% to a range of 25 to 33%. This text amendment was initiated by the City Commission in early August. One quick reminder, as you all know, there's a larger cleanup text amendment coming down the pike that will address some other land development code items. This specific TA is independent of that cleanup text amendment. And as of right now, it's on a different time track, different timetable than the larger cleanup amendment. Okay, so some basic history. The previous land development code had a district, the CS, the commercial strip district, and that automatically converted to the M3 mixed corridor district when the land development code went live back in April. There was an identical use standard for the former CS district in the old land development code. That was carried forward into the new land development code. So that's how we got to where we are today. The intent of the old code standard was to limit the oversaturation of residential development in the commercial strip district, to prevent strip-style sprawl of commercial zoning and commercial land use at the periphery of the city. So the commercial strip district was intended to capture and contain that strip-style development. There's several allusions to that in both Horizon 2020, the previous comprehensive plan, and the previous land development code. So this standard was intended to encourage mixed use and residential developments locate in our old CN districts. Those were the neighborhood commercial districts, mixed use, the MU districts, or straight residential districts. So this table, it might look familiar. It's from the staff report. It compares the old land development code's non-residential requirement to the new land development code's non-residential requirement by district. So you can see what the old district was, what it converted to, and what the comparable non-residential requirement was. So you can see that in most districts, they either decreased or they stayed the same. However, for the MU, primary, secondary, that was one of our old MU districts, the non-residential requirement actually increased. So it went from it went from, there was no numerical requirement, it just had a requirement for mixed uses. It wasn't an established percentage to 50%. So one analysis point that staff considered was, if you reduced the M3 district's non-residential requirement, you'd be lessening the development standards or the development burden on the areas that used to be zoned MU and are now M3. What that does is it ensures that if there were some mixed use developments that were established prior to the new land development code, think around campus, around 14th and Ohio area, it's more likely that they will remain conforming with the new land development code if we reduce the non-residential requirement. So as you're all aware, under the old land development code, mixed uses were permitted. However, the districts and their permitted uses were generally more segregated. Under that old code, the commercial strip district was at its core a commercial district intended to contain that strip style development. So restricting the amount of residential land uses, it was an appropriate method to prevent the sprawl of that CS district. Under the new land development code, the M districts and the M3 district specifically, they've expanded both where residential and non-residential land uses may be located. Rather than containing a certain style of development, the purpose of the M districts and the M3 districts is to develop and redevelop with a mixture of uses. So it's a fundamental shift in the purpose of these districts. And for that reason, the 50% standard to have 50% non-residential and 50% residential, it may not be appropriate anymore given such a seismic shift in the purpose of these districts. With the new land development code, there remains standards for the non-residential pieces. And what I mean by that there are standards of it being located on the ground level, or it being located and oriented towards primary frontages or pedestrian zones or community spaces. So the code would maintain a check of making sure that what non-residential use remains, it's oriented towards the public space. So this is just an example from the staff report. I actually pulled these little graphics from the land development code. They're kind of two simple examples of how these two buildings could be developed. One today with the current standard, and one as proposed with a reduced non-residential standard. So you can see that along the little fictional primary street frontage, both options, both examples have activated non-residential uses at their at the ground level. And then this also was included in the staff report. This is just a simple map showing the locations of the current areas zoned M3. So it's along where you'd expect it to be, 6th Street, 23rd Street, Iowa Street, and then up into North Lawrence as well. And then on the right, you'll see this is just the redlined version of how the actual text of the code would be changed. It's really only changing one section of code. So what this would not do, this would not require developments to be mixed use in the M3 district. You could do a 100% office development, you could do a 100% medical development. You would not have to be mixed use. It also would not require residential uses. Again, you could do a straight non-residential, and if you chose not to include any residential, that would still be permitted. And then this proposed text amendment would not alter the percentages of any other zoning district. So in the staff report, there's the table that shows the other zoning districts' percentage requirements. Those would not be changed by this text amendment. So to wrap up, I'll read the whole recommendation because it's kind of a mouthful. So staff recommends to forward the text amendment request to decrease the percentage of gross floor area, either vertical or horizontal, that must be developed with non-residential uses for proposed multi-unit dwelling or interior or non-ground floor dwelling developments in the M3 district from 50% to 25%, and forwarding that with a recommendation of approval. So I think we have some representation from our applicant tonight, and then I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Wonderful. Would you like to get the applicant, or is the applicant here to speak?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
I'm Tiffany Asher with Paul Werner Architects. I don't have a ton to add. Can you see me?
I think you can lower, there's some way you can lower this.
It's really slow.
Okay. Because Luke did a great job. What brought this on is, we had tried to read through the new land development code when it was being done to help, stop any of these. We hate asking for a text amendment so early is the point. But not until we do a project do we really see, is this going to fit? And when we're working on that project at 7th and Locust in North Lawrence, this is why we had to rezone that to an M2 to get more of the apartments. That project would then have only been 2 stories. We would have 1 story of commercial and 1 story of residential, because even though on that site we have a restaurant building and a retail building, it had to be in the same building, the 50%. So when we worked on that project, we actually submitted the rezoning and this text amendment at the same time to be like, we'll see which one gets through first. Hopefully, one of them will help us with this project. So that is why we are here. And we have done 3 now true mixed-use infill projects, and all of them have multi-stories of residential. It's really what drives these projects and the affordability of being able to have the commercial space. So we think it's appropriate, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. If we have any questions, we'll call you. And this time I'll bring it back to the commission for discussion. Any discussion on this item? Oh, public comment. Sorry, my apologies.
Public comment.
The room is empty. I apologize. Is there anyone here or online to give public comment on this item this evening?
I'm not seeing any online.
All right. At this point, I'll bring it back to the commission for discussion.
So I have a question for Luke, Chair. So Luke, the reason we have this in the old land development code was to prevent commercial strip style development, right, at the city periphery. So do we have any examples of something where that happened that we can point to and say, this is what we don't want to do? Or did we just not have any of that stuff happen because of the... I just want to understand an example of what we tried to avoid.
Yeah, why don't you try?
I think you actually might have found one instance where the 2006 code actually gave us what we were kind of asking for, and in its sense the CS zoning district in the 2006 code was a placeholder district. It was never intended to be expanded. It was only intended to be squared off because some of the stuff that we saw in the 1966 code before we switched, we started to see materialize around 31st and Iowa Street, kind of in that corridor as it kind of went south. I could only surmise that that's probably where that catch-all kind of came into that conversation. It was admittedly before my time, but if you kind of work through the maps and the understanding of some of the stuff, that's kind of what may have been going on in that direction there. There was also a little bit of fear of understanding kind of the edges around your non-principal streets. So 6th and Wakarusa would have been active, but they were also concerned as much about North 2nd and North Lawrence, East 23rd Street, and some of those others that might be working on kind of those edge segmentations. So I can't point to one where we actually kind of had it materialize, because I think the code actually did a good job of doing it.
I see.
I think what happened in the text amendment, though, is as we started to roll into this new code, that kind of hold district that we had kind of took a little bit more root than we expected. And Luke's report is a very good analysis of how that kind of materialized into the way the code we have today is. So not sure I can give you a good example.
No,
give you a lot of good misses, I think.
Yeah. So it did what it's supposed to do. I mean, in a sense.
We'll give credit where credit is due on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if anything, this gives developers more options, right? Because they could do all commercial if they wanted to, or, you know, they don't have to do residential, right? I mean,
Yeah, we don't really think of it as a burden to provide mixed uses, but if it reduces the burden of providing so much non-residential
right,
development.
right. Thank you.
Charlie?
What businesses, what non-residential entities that would come in, might this eliminate? Any, by changing it from 50% requirement to 25%? Will that eliminate?
I don't know if it would eliminate any uses. I actually think it would probably increase the number of uses that would maybe locate in an M3 district. For example, if there might be a restaurant or a retail type use that can commit to a ground floor space, but they may have no interest in a second floor space. Or they may, an office user might have interest in a second floor space, but not the ground floor space. So it's proven a little bit difficult to have a single user commit to 50% of the development.
Yeah.
So I can't think of anything that it would eliminate, but I can think of several users that would be drawn to it, if that makes sense.
And so give me an example.
Tiffany's talked about how their retail space is basically enough to fill the ground floor, but a retail space doesn't need the second floor of a 4-floor building. And so to fill that second floor with additional residential would be easier or more feasible.
So if I'm thinking of the math correctly, let's use a 4-story building, and currently 50%, 2 floors, would need to be non-residential, correct?
Yeah.
If we eliminate, or reduce, excuse me, to 25%, that means that they would only have to fill the first floor in this hypothetical example, right? To meet the requirements. So I can definitely see why that would be less burdensome if we're looking at one organization or one group trying to fulfill those. That's a big amount, especially M3 requiring such a large commitment to begin with.
So Charlie, I'm sorry, I've been so in my head with my own little example here that I just kind of like was talking about it without framing it. So Commissioner Crawford just pretty much squarely explained the little example here. It basically gives applicants a little bit more freedom, a little bit additional flexibility in having the same amount of space, but with maybe some more users or use types of the moment that are desired right now, I guess.
The other interesting bit about this is it gives the buildings a little bit more longevity than what the code would naturally anticipate, because as a building changes over time, it may increase or decrease in certain uses. So as they start to realize we've really overprogrammed this on commercial, we need to maybe put some residential back into this. That gives them that opportunity to do that without having to be penalized in a way that makes the building a nonconformity, or it creates a situation where they have to hold a storefront open and put it for rent signs in it, but no, they're not going to get anybody to take for it. So really was an intent to kind of get at what we were doing with the heart of the code, which was to give those options and choices and let that flexibility be there. So as the buildings evolved over time, the code would kind of flex with them and kind of meet them where they're at. So hopefully we need a little bit more one time. We might need a little bit more the next time.
And I can see how I would think many businesses would benefit by not having to, if you use the 4-story, take 2 floors of it. But I was curious, are there entities that are looking for all this non-residential space that we would eliminate by having this?
I don't think there'd be a particular use at that point, because you can think about some of the buildings downtown. There's a lot of second floor offices, including the second floor science lab that exists downtown, that need a certain footprint in space where they might not, they might need 50%, but if they're scaling down or they're realizing they don't need that space, they might want to scale down a little bit and, move some units residential or a different direction. So I think this gives them a little bit of opportunity to kind of flex with it. I don't necessarily think this gives anybody, eliminates a particular use.
Okay.
I think what it does is it gives some of those options for a building owner to say, maybe I can get, let's say we have a booming commercial market, maybe they flex into that a little bit more than what they intended to, but it doesn't penalize them. And if they can't, then they can flex out of it and go to residential and get units that we might need for that purpose too.
Okay.
And one last question on my side, because Charlie brought up a really good point. The minimum is 25%. There's no cap.
Not in the M3 district.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. You stated that, and I was like, oh, wait, maybe there is a cap. Maybe I'm missing a detail there. So that was a good.
It could be
That
25.
helped me clarify something.
It could be 25% non-residential or 100% non-residential.
Perfect.
And with those numbers, I had a question. Why is this a range? I mean, I understand the point of having a 25% to a 33%. I mean, really, basically, it's just 25%. So why have a range?
The range came in as the applicant's suggestion, and staff selected 25% without the range. We recommended 25% even.
Okay.
And for that, we chose that because it matches the M2 district. So the M2 and the M3 district would have the same 25% non-residential requirement.
So the vote this evening would be to change it to 25%, not to a range.
If you
Or to
follow the
recommend.
staff recommendation.
Just wanted to check. Thank
Yep,
you.
yep, thanks for checking.
I'd be happy to make a motion.
Well, I had a couple questions.
Oh, excuse me.
Sorry. Any other discussion before I ask? a couple
One question. So, four-story building, first floor is retail store, three floors of residential. In the future, if the owner of the building or the owner of the units decides to turn the residential into commercial, that's no problem, right? There's no, what I'm saying is both ways are okay. Commercial to residential, or residential to commercial. You wouldn't need to come back here and get permission, would you?
As long as the percentages are
Okay.
balancing out.
Minimum 25.
Yes.
Okay.
That goes to Jeff's point about flexing.
Flexing either way. Flexing works either way.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, ignoring building permits or.
Right.
licensing, that kind of-
Sure. Right.
We like to ignore that.
For the record, building permits would be required.
So we couldn't quote that Luke said, "More building permit."
They're rolling their eyes right now. I'm causing them problems.
I just was wondering, was this considered during the land development code, the couple years that the steering committee was looking at the land development code? Did they look into this, and what was the discussion around landing on 50%? I'm just curious, since it's a new code, I'm curious as to that.
Well, I'm going to test my memory on this one. I'm not sure I'm going to get it all right. I don't remember them having a very specific steering committee having a conversation about it, but I do recall in the focus groups, this was brought up a couple of times by people that worked with the code, architects and engineers, as being one of the things that I would hazard, is probably fair to say, was sand in the gears of the old code, was that it had the hard 50 in there. And, but for that, there was a lot of good opportunities, except for that was the sand that ground it down to a halt. So it wasn't necessarily probably a steering committee conversation I could point to, but more of the focus groups and the conversations and feedback we got as we were going to the drafting stage on that. From what I can recall, the 50% was almost a clean pullover from the old code of what we had in the CS zoning district. And so it was really just bringing that number over in the ultimate change.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. I think I've expressed over the last several meetings that I'm kind of uncomfortable with this piecemeal approach to text amendments for substantive text amendments for the land development code, with all the effort that was put into it and all of the discussion around it. And so the public awareness and public participation is just so much different through an initiated text amendment than it is through this process that we just went through. And so the substantive edits and changes, or text amendments like this, just make me a little nervous. So I was just curious as to what conversations went on there versus now. So thank you.
Okay.
Charlie.
I don't want to delay us. I'm going to vote yes. And could I ask you a question? Of course. So when you are going to build this property, if only 25% is required, you are going to start out building the other 75% of this as residential.
I think
It depends. I think it depends on the location. I think it depends on the developer. A lot of these mixed-use projects are driven by the commercial tenant, and depending on how much they want. Also now, with the new land development code, there's no parking requirement for commercial. So in a perfect world, you would just do more commercial because you wouldn't require parking. You're really only going to put residential if you have the space for the parking. As before, you were kind of hindered by the amount of parking required for commercial space. So I think our range of 25 to 33 came from a 3-story building. That's where we got the 33. Like we did 300 Elm. We had to get a variance for that. This project at 7th and Locust, we needed to change the zoning. I think it just all comes from, I think it just depends on who's building it, what they want to invest, if they have a tenant already, and if they have the parking for the residential. So I don't, I can't say.
Generally, it is driven by the commercial entity on what you're going to build.
Yes, I mean, if you have an anchor tenant that is going to take up the commercial space, you have a lot more flexibility on what you're going to do with the rest of the building, as opposed to I'm going to build 3 stories of apartments and a huge first floor that hopefully someday somebody will rent.
Right.
It's a little more risky.
Okay.
But you know you're going to fill the residential spaces, but,
Right.
so.
Okay, that answers my
Okay.
question.
Any other questions or discussions? All right. If not, I will entertain a motion. Oh, wait, let me double check online. Everybody good online? Sorry.
Yeah, it looks like.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
I would move that we approve the text amendment AMDT 25-5 to Chapter 20 of the City of Lawrence Code to decrease the percentage of gross floor area, either vertical or horizontal, that must be developed with non-residential uses for proposed multi-unit dwelling or interior dwelling or non-ground floor dwelling developments in the M3 Mixed Corridor District from 50% to 25% and forward to the City Commission with a recommendation for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? I would like just to say that, again, I'm kind of uncomfortable with the substantive piecemeal approach towards some of these text amendments that we've been seeing. But in this particular instance, it seems like we have seen a few of these projects that have come through that we have as a body, and then I think have been approved when they've moved on, specifically for this purpose to kind of help with this. So this is like a little shuffling out of what we have actually seen and that has been
Right.
voted on in the changing some zoning changes regarding the M3, and so I'm a little more comfortable with it, but I do intend to vote in favor of it,
Right.
but I just would like to say that.
Yeah, makes sense.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And so that is the last substantive agenda item. Now we have consideration of the 2026 Planning Commission meeting calendar. Do we want to review this? This is a draft that has been posted. Becky is not here, and she usually leads us through this kind of thing. I was looking at Jeff, and he was looking back at me.
I've done one, but I could definitely lead you through it.
Do we need to approve this evening, or just this for our information to consider? Where are we at with this?
We'll need approval this evening, and just as a reminder, what we do is we have vetted this against the holiday schedules that we would normally see for the city of Lawrence, and also kind of through the room there. And as a reminder, you work on a 14-month calendar instead of a 12-month calendar. So this will give us a little bit of lead time going into February of 27. So really the only one of note at this point is in May, you would be scheduled to have just your Wednesday meeting and not your Monday meeting. And I just wanted to highlight also a couple things. As you'll notice in the application deadlines and the public comment deadlines, we've moved those to some Tuesdays because of some holidays in there too.
Okay.
And so we've indicated that those are going to the Tuesday date instead of the Monday date where you would typically have those, because the holidays, just want to push that back and give everybody a chance on that. But otherwise, We would be looking for your approval of this calendar this evening so we could publish it for upcoming applications and for the public to know.
Excellent. Is there any discussion on this item?
Question. So Jeff, so this year we had a lot of one meeting weeks. Is this like, are you saying this is likely to happen or this is going to happen? Like,
Your standing meetings are always on the Wednesdays. Your Mondays are your alternative dates.
Okay, so
we schedule for both, and then if we don't need
I
the
gotcha.
Monday, we drop it.
okay, so this is not, okay, understood. Thank you.
Why was that left off, just out of curiosity?
The Monday.
Monday in May.
It's,
Surprised me.
there's a holiday there that I can't think of suddenly.
Well, that's okay.
Memorial Day, maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, could be Memorial Day.
Monday, the 25th is Memorial Day.
So that's probably it. That'd be about the right time. Yeah.
That was Memorial Day. Yep.
That's right.
Another 5 minutes, I still wouldn't have came up with that on time. Thank you for the assist.
Any other questions about this? Everyone go with the calendar? All right, I'll look for a motion.
I move we approve the calendar.
Second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, all in favor of approval of the calendar for the coming year? Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes. And so with that, are there any other items for the good of the committee mission? All right, so then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. We're adjourned.
And our orientation is December 5th.
Yes, orientation is December 5th, and I was going to announce it to the public, but there's no one here. Public is welcome to attend. It is a public meeting.